In the new Star Tours? Yes, it was a project that I started about 4.5 years ago, and this was an amazing ride. Just the last 4 years trying to first go into an existing classic attraction, another big challenge, and try to update it and refresh it, but also tell the story. The story of this attraction was going back in time, so trying to take cues from the original trilogy of Star Wars and the new trilogy of Star Wars, try to make sure we weren't losing any of that, but update the story and the design aesthetic along the way, so it still felt like a new, rich experience. This was our droid room, or used to be the droid room, and we played up security as a big part. We acted as if Star Tours, it was its opening year, and we had the whole storyline playing off of what we all feel now when we travel, and security being such a big deal in the airports, and how would that be in the Star Wars world and with droids and all the baggage scanning and luggage scanning. So this was a fun environment to design. And of course, working with George Lucas along the way, and the ILM team, and trying to create new characters and refinish existing characters to live and work with our story, was a great challenge and a big high. Since most of you guys probably know it's a branching story, means there are hundreds and hundreds of storyboards needed, and having to start to break these down and illustrate them and try to create these experiences through worlds that are known, with characters that are known, and trying to really take advantage of everything that we love from Star Wars. Having to watch the movies a lot, trying to have brainstorms about where we could go, and I'm sure there's lots of debates about what we picked, but it was such a great experience to see that process and then get to take these up and present them to George Lucas, which was a weird experience, showing him a drawing that I did of Darth Vader like he hasn't seen him before, you know, like very surreal. So obviously, a big part of our story here is teamwork, and it's not just one person sitting there drawing or coming up with ideas, but it's a collective team. When we talk about inspiration and motivation, all of us inspire each other, we're motivating each other. There's this collective kind of energy that none of us would be able to create without each other, and I think that teamwork and then having that common direction that we're all focusing in is what really makes Disney and Imagineering something special. So this is just part of the team that I was working on, and some of the craziness, but some of the other characters that I got to work with on this was, of course, this is during the pre-show loading video shoot that we did. I don't know why I'm dressed as a Three Musketeer, but that was came from ILM. So, anyways, thank you very much. That is my presentation. Keep on.
I hope you noticed that Scott said he had to watch all those movies, right? Good job. Our next presenter is Jody McLaughlin, Senior Producer and Director. As a show producer, Jody is responsible for overseeing the creative development projects from concept through installation, including identifying and managing creative deliverables specific to art direction, story, media, graphics, interactive elements, and legal clearances. Now, don't laugh when I say legal clearances. Sometimes that's the long issue, the thing that takes the longest. And Jody also serves in a functional leadership role for the producers at Imagineering. Jody's background includes roles as a set designer and set decorator for Disney Resort Paris and Disney's Animal Kingdom and Walt Disney World. Jody moved into show producing in 2004, working on Monsters, Inc., Mike and Sully to the Rescue in California Adventure, and It's a Small World for Hong Kong Disneyland. She's now producing Fantasyland for Shanghai Disneyland. Jody attended the University of California at Santa Barbara, where she earned a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Art History. She also attended UCLA, where she studied interior and environmental design and production design for film. Please welcome Jody McLaughlin.
Hi there. Well, it's been a long day, hasn't it? So thank you for holding out for this, because I think it's really it's a fun part of the whole day. So as Marty said, I'm a producer at Imagineering, currently working in Shanghai, but I'm going to go a little back in time so you can learn something about myself and about the work that I'm doing at Imagineering. So this is just sort of a high-level overview of how ideas come to be at Imagineering. There are sort of two ways. One is what we call targeted blue sky, where we work with our strategic partners. We do things like needs assessments, and we get information from the different portfolios about the types of attractions or content that they need to sort of complete and round out the portfolio. The other is true blue sky, which is more like, gosh, what if we did? And that's as exciting as well, and it's really, truly creative development at its finest. A little bit about the creative process at Imagineering. You know, what defines us really is our ability to tell stories, how we integrate technology and creativity, creating a family experience, but also a very broad experience if you're little, if you're older, if you're in between. Innovation, nostalgia, sort of a balance of stimulating experiences, but also some areas where you can just go and kind of chill out a little bit, you know, on a long day. The creative challenges are really wanting to maintain a culture of risk-taking. You know, we never want to rest on our laurels. We're always looking for what's the next best thing around the corner. We really make a point of nurturing our talent and developing our talent. I have to say, in the past few years, I've seen this great generation, a huge generation of young people coming through, and it's really refreshing. I love working with them. We want to maintain what makes us different from our competitors, and as I said before, it's always something better around the corner. We're always pursuing that and going after it. This is a sort of a chart, if you will, about Imagineering's place in parks and resort. The divisions are there on your left side of the screen. Oops, how did that happen? Come back. Sorry. This one's tricky. It's like a zippy slide, and I can't even make it zip. Let's see. There we go. So the project team's the one in the middle. I'm the producer. I'm not in the middle of the whole team, but the project manager, the producer, and the creative director sort of really manage the design and development of the process, working with a multitude of talents and disciplines to really make it happen, starting with a blank sheet of paper and taking it all the way through design and implementation. So how did I start? Well, my father was a film editor at the studio, and during the summer I got an internship there, and it was with what we called the morgue, which was where we kept all of the original drawings and backgrounds of all the animated films. And it was like the family jewels, and it was under the ink and paint building, where it was sort of dank and musty, and there were dripping pipes, but all of the drawings were there, and it was an amazing environment. So I would get phone calls from all the animators saying, you know, can I have scene 5B from, you know, Pinocchio? And I'd go down the shelves, pull it up, and bring it up to them, and they would do it all day long. And so this is, they would do these caricature shows at the library, and this is me. I guess there was a day where I'd had enough, and I think that's Brad Bird under all of those files. So after I graduated, I came back to the studio and got a job in the mailroom. And again, a caricature show that featured me carrying an envelope of mail. So I did that for about 1.5 years, and I left and gained some experience on the outside, worked in some film and television projects. I came back to Disney, kind of when they were sort of changing the way they produced their films, the content of films. They were, you know, appealing maybe to a more mature audience. And I worked in the art department there for about 3 years and really learned a lot about set production, set design, art direction, building sets, you know, what a great collaborative team it is to work in an art department and work with all the backlot shots. So I left again and came back to Imagineering, and I started working on Disneyland Paris. I was a set designer, and back then we used to draw everything by hand, and those were some of my drawings for Pirates of the Caribbean. So I did that for about a year and a half, and got into set decorating, which I really love, because one of the things, of course, that we do is tell stories with visual, physical elements. So when you're doing set decorating, you have to ask yourself, this is Captain Nemo's captain's quarters, and you would say, well, what would Nemo have in his office? So we would do a lot of research, find the things that help to tell that story and build that story, so when the guests walk in, they get an immediate sense of placemaking in the story, and they know where they are and why they're there. This was for Comstock in Disneyland Paris. That was another project we did. This was Animal Kingdom, where I worked on the Dinoland portion of Animal Kingdom, got to learn a lot about dinosaurs and storytelling and placemaking and fun. I also, after a few years, got into managing a number of different groups. One of the groups I managed was production design, and what the production designers do is they take the show set drawings, which define sort of the integration and coordination of all of the show elements in the facility and the ride, and they take those drawings and they work with all of the shops that actually build this stuff. And they work with the lighting designers, the set builders, the special effects, the art directors, all the different disciplines that come together in the shop and actually build what's drawn. And again, telling the story with visual elements, sets, lighting, special effects, and then installing it. I also manage the set decorators, so we have everything from small props to these large steam donkeys that, if you've been to California Adventure, you'll see that over by the Grizzly River ride. Tower of Terror, again, great sense of storytelling, placemaking, layers and layers and layers that just really add depth to the experience. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, just as valid a storytelling as Nemo's Office. Something else we do well, and I managed a different group of production designers, which were theme paint and theme plaster and rock work. And these are all man-made things. That's a man-made mountain there from Tokyo Disney Seas. And what's really great about this is the story and the layering that you can get from color and texture. You look at these buildings and you can imagine, history of perhaps what happened, in these buildings and why they're there and who lived there and who worked there and the whole history of the place. So it gives you this great sense of visual storytelling, again, adding a great deal of depth and immersiveness to the experience in the parks. My first job producing was, as Marty mentioned, Mike and Sully to the rescue. Started with a high concept and changing out the facade that was there previously. Again, creating it visually in a piece of art, and then actually delivering what it looked very much like in the artwork. So one of my favorite things is starting again with the blank sheet of paper, creating the designs, and then seeing it as it comes into reality. These are the storyboards, and we use storyboards to capture the key moments in each of the scenes and what's happening in each of those scenes, where we really want to focus the guest's attention. So each of the boards has sort of a key story moment that moves the whole design along. And we do that nearly all the time when we're developing attractions. It really focuses the team, it focuses the story. We know what the stories are, we know what those components are, so we can take these storyboards and start to break them down into design elements. And then we build the real thing. What was fun about this job is I was the producer, I was also the set decorator, so I got to get all these fun props like eyeball sushi and all sorts of different noodles. It was a lot of fun. It was a great experience.